Whispers spread throughout the great city. Something had happened within the keep's dark walls. Alaskir Razar's daughter, the seeress, had fallen ill. Some quietly speculated it was the tower's judgment, the line of Azar finally reaping its punishments. Others spoke of inside plots, a twisted game being played by factions within the Koshan ranks. But most were silent, knowing that only time could reveal the truth. From the records of Shea Paran, Alaskir Azar steps away, his hands clasped in front of him, his eyes solemn as he looks down at you. He takes a deep breath, inhaling, exhaling, and then nods. It is done then.
I'll watch him carefully as he goes through the movements, and I'll nod to him myself. That's all then.
He gives you a strange look, and then he smiles grimly. Now at last we can talk in truth. Secrets laid bare. There are things, many things, I have wanted to say. Truths, lies, all of them just waiting for the right moment. Now we can share our thoughts freely as named men.
There are many things I have wanted to hear.
He nods.
Let us speak.
He begins to walk slowly through the Aushla. We have time. The night is young enough.
I'll join him, walking at his side, beneath the moonlit blossoms. I'll turn to him as we walk. Why all of this so soon?
Why did
I expected
He nods.
something more. Grander ceremony, the Moshog present. This was rushed.
It was, and for good reason. Turns to look at you as you walk, as though for a moment scanning your face, looking for some sign of emotion, perhaps the hint of something. He looks away then.
Stare at him plainly, not giving away any bit of emotion or slight feeling.
You're right. The Zorhaba should have been a larger affair. It would have been a day of coronation, and the ceremonies that come with it. Well, I feel that with your temperament, my son, they will not be missed.
No.
But still, it is a fair question. Why push it forward? Why debase our own tradition for the sake of expediency? Is it to allow you more time to process before your departure? Or perhaps, maybe, more? He nods then. Well, the truth of the matter is, I do not adhere to the schedules of others. I never have. The careful and quietly played game, the one we pretend not to be a part of. I have no love for it. I disdain it. I seek to undo it completely.
That much I had gathered. But which game? The games we play against the Moshog, against our own people? or greater game.
He thinks for a second then, before carefully. Long ago, as you are aware, I, in a moment of weakness, delivered the most precious heirloom of our house to the hands of another. I took that, which was our responsibility, our burden, and I placed it in the hands of something I didn't truly understand. How could I believe otherwise, though? How could I not see them as they were in that moment, radiant and vast, and not think that they were something other than an agent of the Great Mother herself? I was deceived, as were we all. They are aberrations.
I see.
And now I must undo that mistake. Carefully and slowly. The knot has become tight. We cannot undo it. By the means in which it was tied, we must cut it. But even that will take care and time. My son,
I see.
I want to reclaim that which was always our right, our inheritance. We can no longer abide by the will of the people being determined by creatures which cannot understand them, that are not of them, that are not by them. No longer. No longer will I stand and watch as these aberrations slowly, inexorably choke the life out of my people. In some emotionless, pitiless game. They do not feel, they do not sense, they do not think. How can something like that direct fate?
Was it not for the very reason that you gave the power of premeditation, of foresight to them to stave off the tyranny that the tyrants once held, that we could have possibly perpetrated back in our homeland?
The power was debased, he says, looking at you. It fell into hands that were not made. It fell into hands which it was not made for. We spread it amongst those who were unworthy. If it had remained within the select few who Leut chose from the beginning, if we had not taken those tasks and spread them amongst those we felt worthy, then we would have had control. Our mistake, he says slowly, thinking, our mistake was allowing that control to slip through our fingers, not once now, but twice. The Koshani tyrants existed because, well, they were not chosen. Their inability to conceive of the will of Leut is directly correlated with their separation from her. We are direct descendants. We come from her. They come from us. Every line, every new birth, it erodes the purity. But we are not eroded. We are her perfect creations. A glint of something in his eye, then, as his mask fades, the stern look on his face turning almost tremulous, like a preacher at the stand, caught in a moment of exaltation.
I see. We are the ones who have always been the closest to layout. That is why we have, even on our moments of failure, still guided our people in a righteous direction. And you believe now, of all times and all lives, is the time to reclaim our birthright.
He looks to you. I saw it. I saw it in a vision. In Hilbaron's vision. Time and time again. His voice almost cracking then. She saw it. The house of Azar. Mighty once more. And the bounty we brought forth to our people. So righteous. So marvelous. And the old and the young alike shared in that bounty, and grew wise together.
That is what you saw from my mother. That we reclaim power and we use that power to usher in an age of prosperity among our people.
I saw many things. He almost mutters then, his mind wandering. You can see it on his face. Many things. Victories won. Battlefields conquered. Myself on a throne of ancient stone. He looks then to the west, gazing out across the blossoms towards the stars which point home. Other things too. Strife. Conflict. But none that we cannot overcome. And in all those visions, not once the Marshog appeared. They are not a part of our future. Divorced from it.
They sound eerily similar to the ones I witnessed myself from Eidolon.
He nods. Yes,
Hmm.
I have no doubt. The bond shared between mother and daughter was strong, even in the few years they had. He sighs then. Halim, my son, will you stand by me in this? Against these creatures that have stolen our right? Can I rely on you?
You've always been able to, and that will not ever change.
He nods. Good.
In this, we are aligned. In motivation, and sentiment, and belief.
He
Our
nods.
future, it lies in the West. It lies with us ruling over our people once again, a people that we shepherd and guide into a brighter future, not as some lapdogs of foreign emperors.
He nods, his eyes taking on a brighter gleam. Good. Good. I knew that would be your answer, but I still had to make sure. Seek Abzael, the two of you, when you have time on the journey. Ponder a way that we can rid ourselves, these creatures. They must not be invulnerable, and their ranks are replenished by our own people. We must find a way to deal with these abominations who have usurped the will and the voice of Leut. Abzeo will stand by you. They have been loyal to you even before the word of the Kalishna.
We may yet find other allies too among the Koshan, others who share our sentiments.
He nods. I have sent the fist. Their absence has been noticed, but I have sent them here and there. Their absence from my side has been on matters of great importance. Marib, Ozol, Kalim, all of them. I have sent them as messengers. Marib especially. He has gone on his way to speak with my duenna, to see what assistance we can bring from the Omerade.
Good.
The fist will reassemble soon. Their journey is bringing them back full circle.
We will have guests arriving soon.
Yes. Naushlum. I wonder what they will think. 2 of the Mashog have already fled the city. Only one remains. And that one is their leader. Or at least as close to that as I can surmise. The intricacy of the mask. They always speak first among the 3. We will need to be rid ourselves of it sooner than later. But not until we have a assured plan. If it's allowed to escape, well, the calamity it'll bring down will be immense. As for the other 2, who knows what... He stops for a second. What words that those 2 will whisper in the ears of our people. How they will pollute the holy Kalishna and twist it like tyrants themselves to enact their... He stops, his words halting again. He puts his hand up to his head, holding his brow, a vein popping on the side. He shakes his head for a second, and then blinks.
Are you well? I'll say, lifting a hand and placing it on his shoulder.
Just pains. They lessen when I'm outside of the city. But under the shadow of the damn tower, he says, looking at it, they have been plaguing my dreams, plaguing my visions.
It exerts a force that is unexplainable and soul-crushing. Everyone feels it that I speak to.
But not the dirt. Why are they free from it?
Because they are its children. I
Sacrifices of
imagine.
flesh given, no doubt. He says, nodding.
Yes.
And children indeed. Or more, perhaps, playthings of some darker power than we can understand.
All I can say for certain is that they have some unholy alliance with whatever powers that be around that damn tower. I witnessed Yorban Darkhand walk up those large steps like it was nothing. He didn't even break a sweat.
I'm glad the man is loyal. Not that I trust him, but he has been impeccable in keeping order. And he has also been impeccable with his execution of our laws. No other member on the council has doled out as many punishments as Yorban himself. It's almost zealous the way he does it, like a certain glee behind his actions, and on his own people as well. It unnerves me. His
He's a
stranglers are
man
busy.
who is embroiled in conflict. Conflict surrounds him and he thrives in it. We should be wary of him. Just because he keeps everything in order, well, that may well likely mean that there are darker things going on under the surface that he wishes to conceal. Things he thinks we won't look into as long as he keeps up a good face.
A nod. Yes. Jolab and Jorbat. Sorry, Jolab and Dalib. They don't concern me.
They're fools. They're harmless.
A nod. You said you had questions.
Yes.
We have time.
Is my brother on board with all of this? Did he receive the same introduction as I did tonight?
Repeat the beginning one more time. It didn't cut, it just, the word was a bit slurred.
Is my brother in on all of this as well?
No. I did not bring Halan into my competences, or into my, well, my conspiracy, he says with a grim smile, considering the caretakers of our holy word. He almost spits that out. No, it is not that I could not trust him, or that I thought him incompetent. When he went through his Orhaba, he was at the height of his competence. It is only afterwards that he diminished.
This is the city.
Yes,
Most certainly.
I wished you to take him beyond the city. Perhaps that time will harden and heal him. I hope it does. I need you both at your full competency if we are to succeed.
I'll nod to him. Assuredly.
I do wish
And
to bring... Go ahead, you first.
I'll let him finish first.
I do wish to bring your brother back into my confidences. But for that he needs to learn a few hard lessons.
I think the step will be able to provide those lessons.
A nod. I'm sure both of you will find much value on your journey.
I think we will. I think there's much to be gained from it on many different levels. Try to make the most of it that I can for my brother, for myself, and for our position here.
A nod. I've been candid and open. So, when we wake tomorrow, I will not again have the same... He thinks for a second. We will not be able to have another discussion like this for quite some time. The
I imagine.
requirements of my station. He nods. Think of it as the fourth gift of your Zorhaba.
We share our intents. They're aligned, Father. Words do not need to be spoken now. Only action needs to be taken. We know which way we need to lead our people. And both of us will do everything we can to do so forthrightly. I believe that.
He nods. Yes. This, more than anything, has cleared my mind, he says, looking down as he walks through the blossoms. I feel, though, as though I have not still yet answered your first question. I needed to disconnect the time between your Zorhaba and when Aushlim arrived. It was necessary to throw off the Moshog's timeline.
I figured that was the case. I'd surmised it before.
Naushlem is
Oh,
paramount to their plans, no doubt, or they would not have pushed them this hard to travel and to give
indeed.
aid.
I think they can still be swayed, though. Me and Abseil, I think we will have a chance at that.
A nod.
To sever their ties to the Moshog, whatever part they play in their greater scheme, we can win them over to our side.
Slowly. He nods. Have you plans? You have contracted the 12th?
Yes,
You have
their
found
commander,
them competent?
Barry,
I
and
am
creative.
I am sure that their commander will wish to speak with you on
Yes.
matters of, well, the mission ahead.
Mhm. I plan to gather everybody who would be present that is to be brought along tomorrow so that we can hold a meeting, talk strategy, make further preparations before we leave.
I will say, I will need at least 10 of your Resulta to remain behind. I have important tasks for them to attend to, but I
Very
cannot
well.
command them. Only you can.
I plan to leave a handful anyways. I can spare you a handful more.
They
I'll
will
be
be
at your service.
important. I need competent spies, both in the North and West districts. And I trust your Resulta to do well, or at least to recruit, to hire and to pay those who will gain the necessary information I require.
What are you looking for?
Money. Coin.
Hmm.
I want to know where the missing funds are. I want to know where they've been funneled. I want those funds. We need them. Not for the campaign in the Kerad cities. I need them for beyond that.
I understand.
An exodus is an expensive thing. Food, shelter, supplies, ships. Ships especially.
Hmm. Very well. I'll be sure to gather up all I can about it so that you have the things you need organized in your care. The
He
12th
nods.
have been working on a development for me. If they figure it out before we leave, I'll make sure to get
Good.
that to you.
I will trust your trust in them. Though I have heard nothing positive of the 12th. Not from anyone in my council, nor from the extracurricular sources that I have gathered information from. Still, your word is higher than those.
They have done nothing but give me results thus far.
That is all we seek, all that matters.
Well, to some, other things matter. The laws, for instance, would rather me have taken the third or another unit. That way we can make this expedition some kind of grand thing
The grand
to be
victory,
paraded
to
about
be
and
lauded.
yes.
Well, Velaz is concerned with his reputation within the Idavar, more so than he is with the success of Kerad. The problem for Relaz is that his success within Kerad is now tied directly to his standing within the Empire. His failure will cut him down from the high throne on which he sits. He cannot afford for us to fail in Kerad. He cannot afford
That
for
much
me to
is
fail.
that much is reassuring. I would still be wary of trusting the man.
I do not trust anyone who does not have. I trust no one in which the blood of Leod does not flow.
Very wise.
And I must apologize. You had sought after your Zarhaba to be wed. I know you had looked forward to that day with great eagerness and intent to maintain and to carry on the line.
I have realized for some time that that is not for now. That is for the future. There will be a future where she is awake and she is well again, and we are able to be wed.
He nods slowly. The Mashag may have already outmaneuvered me in that regard.
Yes.
And I worry what the power of their words might hold.
As you say, they are aberrations.
The Zorha will be paramount, I have no doubt. The tool of Leud given to us shall be turned on them. The problem is their own innate power, their ability to bend and to warp, to change the very fabric of a person's soul. You saw it with Pajuk. A mere
Yes.
touch, enough to reduce her to nothing more than a pile of blubbering flesh. He shivers for a second, closing his eyes. Such a pointless action, with no thought or intent. But now the Mashag are not intentless. Still, it was
All of that
unnecessary.
was purposeful. All of it was to make my sister indisposed.
A
That much I
nod.
see.
Do you think they wished to get ahead of your wed night? Or do you think that she saw something that they feared? Or her visions threatened them?
I can't say.
He
Both are
nods.
likely. Hurting her is hurting me, and hurting me is hurting you.
And they know me to be their adversary.
In those
Now,
visions, they were so scattered, they were so numerous.
he
I can't
nods.
say if there's something in there that they feared. Half of it I can hardly comprehend.
He nods. Well, Amzel will attend you in honing your Zorha. Though I must say I've never seen someone so adept. Not on the first pass, at least.
I will be sure not to grow too proud of myself in that endeavor. I'll stick to it
He
and
nods.
continue to get a hang of it.
The law of silence abides, though. Remember, it is only to be used within the sight of those not of our blood as a last resort, and any who witness the use of it must be put to death. He looks grim at that.
Wasn't Katsu one such person?
We make the necessary sacrifices, both to our own codes and honor. He grimaces, a dark scowl on his face. The truth
Why is he so
is,
necessary?
because he understands the foreigner's power. because he is a key and insight into understanding how we can combat it. He holds the antithesis of our own, that which might rival the Zorha, that which makes us less unique, more fallible. We must open him like a chest to understand it, peer into him like the pages of a book, peel him away layer by layer until at last we know what we face. And then we will be truly prepared.
Are his people in the West truly to be our enemy?
Not just in the West. The power that he holds, it resides in these lands too.
Elu.
He nods. Our people have always known of them.
Hmm.
Though they try to disguise themselves from their own people. They hide it away, a secret locked so deep. He stops thinking. And now that secret is slowly being let out.
Relaz is one,
He
and his
nods.
whore.
Yes, both.
And you're telling him that it's a secret? One that is held by the higher echelons of the Tavrish?
I have heard rumors. Past Idavars. It is said that they too hold it. That in and of itself makes them a threat to us. Garadir and all his ilk. Perhaps some of the few who could stand against us if we unveiled our true power and our true ambitions.
Indeed. It seems like our enemies are numerous and far more powerful than we are. In the West, in the North, in the East.
And we cannot hope to stand against them all, nor should we seek that. We were conquerors. We raised nations and made empires as vast as the horizon. But that is not our purpose. That is not what Leut intended for us. We must seek a different way. But to attain that, we must become conquerors again for a time, until peace is truly attainable.
I'll nod to him. I see what you mean.
Do you have other questions? What else would you know? Or was the matter with the Zorhama your only doubt?
I think it's all rather clear now.
Good. Well, I am... He stops to think. I am saddened that this must now come to an end so soon. I had hoped we would talk longer, but I see now that your convictions are strong and are not needing of reassurance. You go with my faith and with my blessing. I have no doubt Absael is waiting. Best not to keep him long. Tomorrow, there will be one meeting. There are more, but that one is of importance. After that, you have my leave. And after that, There will be no more gatherings for you or your people. I would need to see you busy at work instead, preparing for the expedition. I can have information from the councils relayed to you if you prefer.
I imagine it's just more of the same.
He nods.
My focus is better spent preparing this expedition and making sure it goes well from henceforth.
Very well.
I will attend whatever meetings you need me to. But if you can spare me as much time as possible to see to that matter, I think it only benefits us all.
Yes. The morning then. Afterwards, there will be one more. But it will come on the day of your Zohaba. The Fist will reconvene for a Koshani council. Only the blood of Leut shall attend, and the Fist. We must gather our forces near, make our plans rightfully known. But Halim, those who do not stand with us, they must be dealt with. You will summon the Azalta, and if need be, we shall put them to use, he says grimly.
We must do what we must do. This is a war.
He nods.
Or for our people's future, most importantly. Our
Indeed.
failure means that our people do not have a future.
And thus, perhaps, Gaushani blood must be spilled. If they will not stand with us, then they have no place in Gerad. He turns away then.
We should be careful, though. Should try and not spill our own people's blood. Though it may be thin, it still is the blood of Leut that runs through their veins.
It is. Let us hope they see reason during the council on the fourth day. Let us hope they stand with our thoughts, with our aspirations and our convictions. With our
I
dream
can
of a
tell you,
united Goshani front.
I can tell you my brother most certainly already does, and Absail will follow me regardless.
Yes,
We shall see what comes of others, though.
Ashlam will be in attendance, he says, almost swallowing as he speaks. Well, Absel is also loyal to you, I have no doubt.
Beyond just preparing my expedition, I will spend the time with Aushlon needed to try and sway them over, or at least understand their place, understand where their loyalties lie, so that they do not have to be one of the ones among such a unfortunate occurrence.
Turns to look at you and nods.
The more allies we gain, the better. And if we kill our people, that will turn some possible allies away from us.
Yes. Perhaps those words hold more wisdom than my ears may hear. Perhaps it is time Hmm. It grows late. Turns back away. Stops pacing. I hereby decree you are freed from the edicts of the Koshani ban on the carrying of weapons. Make sure you have a knife with you always.
I will.
I
I've had
also,
Absail carrying two.
I also hereby free you from the edicts banning the wearing, he says, turning to look at you, of a soldier's garb. Find you something better to wear than that ceremonial gown. He grins.
Very well. I'll grin as well.
He looks down at his own officer's garb. A modified Tarvish uniform, worked on extensively and stitched by Koshani hands to fit it for the shorter man. Perhaps something like this. And, hopefully, find yourself a good set of chainmail to wear under it. Strong enough to turn a knife in the back, he says pointedly.
I understand. I will do as you say.
He lifts a hand. Oh no. I must grieve an old friend.
I'll look down some. Very well. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll turn and walk away then.
You turn. You begin to shift your weight. You're sore. Sore from the riding, sore for the day, sore from the moments of violence. Tired, but also wide awake. Summoning the Zorha. It brought feelings to you. Emotions, convictions, impulses. All strange, wrapped about your own. You can feel it in that place that you emptied within yourself, now filled with something else. The sight of the Aushla, of the moon, of the stars, all of it invokes feelings that are in line with your own, but not quite the same. You walk across the blossoms, heading back east and north, towards where Absael kneeled beside the pool. You come over a small rise overlooking that incline into the grove, and there you find him waiting. Leaning up against Rohaj, staring at the body of the Majut still simply lying in the ground. The blood long since has been drunk by the dirt underneath him. The body now going into the forms of rigor mortis, paling, almost ghastly.
I'll slowly make my way down the hilly incline towards the pool there where the body lie.
Absael stands up and he looks at you. In that moment, the glow of the blossoms abound. You can feel something stir inside of you. A strange impulse. Under the moonlight, bathed in the azure radiance, Absael seems more fair than an immortal being. Your heart pounds for a second, then calms. The impulse fades.
I'll stop standing there in the Aushla blossoms, staring at them somewhat absent-mindedly.
They lift an eyebrow as they approach. Well, was it all that you had thought it would be?
I'll blink, swallowing. Ugh. Yes. Well, to be honest, no. It was not.
It turns your worldview upside down, says Absael then, kneeling next to the old Majut's body, looking at it. We will need to honor him. The Aushla will honor him if we let them.
Yes. It's best if he remains where he is. He made his peace here. He welcomed his death.
He
No need to disturb that.
He was brave. Absel pulls out the knife and then gently cuts away the man's tunic. He looks up at you. Uproot a few blossoms. One needs to place them so that they might grow and blossom.
I'll reach down, grasping the root of a few of the blossoms and ripping them out of the soil.
You do so. The vines twist and curl around your fingers, almost alive. Absel gently brings the blade down and across the man's chest, opening up his rib cage. And then he looks up to you. Allow the roots, full of life, to bloom, he says, nodding to the wound he has now opened.
I'll pack them within.
You place them against the man's chest, and the roots expand, tendriling down and into the flesh. Blue nectar flows from them then, dripping into the Majude's open wound. Absel stands and steps away. He will return to the Azure Sea.
Yes. His purpose in this world, given to him by Leut, it is finished. He can move on.
Absel nods and then looks away. Time to head back, I guess.
Yes. We're right ahead of us. I'll step over the man, grabbing his club, and begin to walk over to the Ood.
You grab the man's club, and then, stepping over to the Ood next to the pond, you stoop. Absel watches you go. Trophies!
I'll turn, looking over my shoulder as I stoop over the Ood, shrugging. Better than letting them go to waste here.
Absel
Look nice on
nods.
a wall. Perhaps this would be worth learning how to play someday.
How Halim of you, they say almost fondly. We have room.
That is who I am.
It is. Rohaj will bear them well enough. Here, I'll strap down that, he says, reaching out a hand towards the club. Be careful
I'll
with
toss
that,
it over to
though.
them.
It's fragile. Probably as old as the man himself. He takes the club, catching it, and straps it down to Rohaj's saddle.
I will crouch down and grab the Ood, then walking over to Rohaj to strap it to the saddle as well.
You're careful with the instrument. The strings are gingerly affixed. You place it down, wrapping it underneath a oil skin, and then fastening it down with leather thongs. Absel turns to you, taking the man's leg. That was the correct move.
We spent many long hours training. That is his bad leg, his weak one. One he always stumbled upon.
Laval would have called it unhonorable. He grins. A Koshani would have said you fought well.
That is all that matters at the end of the day, is it not?
A nod.
If you're the one left standing, then you fought well. Doesn't matter how you achieved it.
A nod. Warriors die. Wonder why. They shake their head. Enough of old proverbs, though. You'll ride
The
front
Valens with
saddle.
their...
No, go ahead, they say quietly.
I was just going to say the Valens with their fancy armor and their honor.
I would not mind a set of Val's armor. they say. Can you imagine it? You would be nigh on indestructible on the battlefield. They move in it almost as gracefully as any dancer. The way the plate shifts. Nothing like the Andalese. Their armor far more clunky, far more heavy.
Relying on such fancy trinkets makes a man weak.
But not. I would agree. But
Does Tavrish catch them out of their armor? Or use their armor against them? Use the weight that it has on them against them? What are they to do?
not. No. They are near nigh on impenetrable. Slits in the visors. But unlike the Andalese. No slits in the armpits or knees. No backplate to get under. It's all layered far too finely. But you can still crush one under his horse, or with a warhammer.
Catch them in the mud? Well,
And the intricacy of
the
the
unarmored
plates.
have.
Yes.
The unarmored will have disadvantage. You just have to learn how to use your terrain, your surroundings, everything on the battlefield to your advantage. They rely on that armor. They do not think outside of that armor. That is where we have the advantage.
But not. The intricacy of the plates also exhibits another weakness. Damage any of the inner lying plates, and the armor no longer can shift and move fluidly. Unlike armor with gaps. It protects them better, but it also inhibits them if it's damaged.
That is a good bit of knowledge to know. Speaking of weapons and armor and such, we'll need to get kitted up for the journey ahead.
But not.
Find some good chainmail.
No.
Some proper clothes. Out of the ceremonial garb. We'll need stuff that's sturdy, fit for travel. Good boots.
Your father has lifted the bands then?
Yes.
But not.
I'm also to carry a weapon on me at all times.
We had already declared Vlad, regardless
Yes.
of his wishes.
I told him as such.
Rohaj will need to be stabled tonight. And most likely fed. But we can see to that together when we reach the keep.
Mm-hmm.
And that, he says, pointing down at your face. We'll need to take that out before it tears. I'm surprised the exertions didn't do so. But it's time we remove the stitches.
Yeah, this. Thought you said there was something wrong with my face.
A few things. But those can be overlooked. And, Halim, you have blood covering you from neck to foot.
I'll step back from the horse, looking down.
The wound you opened on the side of the Majut's neck was a spraying wound. There is in fact blood splattered across your ceremonial robes from neck to foot, not drenching it nor dyeing it, but splatters all across nonetheless. This will not be washable. The garments will most likely be burned by the servants.
Well, it was a bloody affair.
Death almost always is. At least in our lives. Now then, shall we head back?
Yes. Oh, it's such a nice night out here.
They lift an eyebrow, looked at the saddle. You're running front, saddle. They grin. I have to wait on you.
I'll jump up, pulling myself onto the horse and sitting tall. Then I'll reach down and offer them a hand.
They take it, and then swing themselves with your hand in aid onto the back of the horse behind you. Rohaj gives a small shake of the head with the added weight, adjusting himself. You can feel the horse's powerful muscles flexing under your weight.
I'll lean forward, reaching down and running my hand along his neck, rubbing it and scratching it. You'll be fine, boy, just a short while longer.
He snorts, his nostrils flaring a few times, and then he begins to shift, eager to move under your weight.
I'll kick him into gear and begin riding back.
Reins in hand, and begin to move him with your knees back towards the keep. Well, the city itself. Absail leans in as you ride. Your father and you had a lot to say, it seems. I expected you back sooner.
We talked quite some time, yes. There was much to be said. I had questions, he had answers. Now, though, I know that I can trust my father. Our intentions are aligned.
Good. That
I
is
have no
good.
doubt about that.
The Zorha stirs within you again as you ride towards Karat. On first sight of it, your chest sinks. That feeling like you've almost been punched. The sight of it is almost grotesque. The impulse of the Zorha itself running through you like a second thought. And then it diminishes and is gone.
Learning about the Zorha was quite a interesting experience.
Absail nods, licks his lips. It is. It is a blessing and a curse. It will move you at times, not physically, but the residual emotions of your past lives built up within it. It is an extension of you, but you will learn to flow with those thoughts and feelings, to make them your own, till at last you are both one, fully and truly.
Is that where your anger comes from? I'll grin at them.
I lift an eyebrow. Yes, some of it, not all. And my love, and my worries, my hopes, but not all. Halim, we are still ourselves, even within the roles we must play. That is important. You are Halim, but you are also yourself.
Wise words. They string true.
Your Haba should have been more. More, they say, shrugging with their shoulders, as they think.
I think this is fine.
I
My
think I
father knows me
agree.
well, and he knows that I would not care for such ceremony.
The Mashag
Tonight
would
was a
have
good
been.
night.
I am surprised there is no Mashag in attendance, nor any of the other Koshani. Of course, we both are in agreement that the games being played here are well, just that. Games. Plans. Maneuvering. Still, I find it almost sad. These moments should have been prolific.
They were.
In a way.
Hmm.
Though I cannot say I mind the absence of the Mashag. The lack of their presence gives a certain grace, as though we are freed from the shackles of our requirements and are allowed at last to breathe.
I'll turn my head sideways and give them a bit of side eye, looking at them, trying to read their expression beneath the veil.
Pensive and distant.
Hmm.
Amber eyes flick up to your own. They blink and then look away for a second. Under the light, they seem almost caught off guard.
A smile, a smirk. Hmm. Does Aushlam share those views?
Aushlam. They think for a second, proclaiming it almost as a verb. Aushlam. Aushlam stands by you. Ancient pacts and commitment wind about them. Their Zorha drives them, as does their own convictions.
Mm-hmm.
Their wish?
How do they
Ah,
how do they feel about the Marshag?
They have not shared their thoughts on the servants of the river with me. Though I have found that in their presence, they often are tense.
If
Even
there is
in...
one thing
What?
those aberrations do for certain, it is invoke fear among those around them.
When you look upon a great being, a creature formed of the will of a god, how else can you put it?
Hmm.
Do you think that you would feel something other when the Vroshi look upon you, when they stoop in the mud and they tremble, and they proclaim you the Prince of Scars? Do you think they feel only love? They feel
Of
fear
course
as
not.
well. It is those same human emotions with which the Mashag bind us.
Should not be the way of things.
Dangerous talk.
Hmm.
But there are thoughts there. Halim, I see them. Would you share them with me? These convictions?
Still with my head turned, I'll eye them, trying to get a read on them.
They're looking westward, quietly, their breath low and steady. But you can hear the pounding of their heart.
Hmm.
Get you looking again and then turn. What? Hmm?
I was wrong. I say,
Oh,
turning my head.
what grace and humility. Wrong about. They lift a hand up, an inquisitive
Hmm.
gesture.
Turn, looking ahead. These games that I said that were games being played around us by the Tavrish, by Katsi and his Western kings, by by us, by our people. by the Moshog, by my father. They are not games. It is a war.
A nod.
There will be blood spilt. Sides will have to be taken.
A nod.
This war, it is not just senseless bloodshed. It is not just fighting to fight. It's for the future of our people. Everything that we do. Our failure to win it is a failure to win a future for the Koshan.
You sound like him. Halim.
Like who? Halim.
Yes. I feel it in the Zorha. These are the words of Halim, as though echoed across time, remembered in my soul.
I'll reach into my Zorha as well, searching for that familiar feeling that they profess to feel. Are these the words I speak? Do they come from me?
Roll a d100, you have a plus 25. Okay, well. You reach down, searching the now filled void within yourself. Within the thoughts and impulses, the swirling emotions which like tendrils wrap about your mind. And there, you find a steady calm coming over you. And an assurance. How could it be explained if not confidence? From some place deep within, you feel confidence rising to the surface. Stark, relatable, and stalwart.
I'll grin, nodding my head assuredly. Yes. That feeling, I feel it too.
Very well.
If there's one thing that I know of Halim, from within my own self, and from reading the histories, is that Halim has always fought for his people. Not just the House of Tsar, for the future of us all. Kushan.
Absail nods, his head slowly tilting.
Halim was not a conqueror because he desired land and riches and power. Halim was a conqueror because he wanted peace and security and prosperity for his people. He wanted a home that they could prosper in.
Absail nods. Yes. Halim cared deeply for the Koshani, and then for the Roshi. He yearned for a united Koshani people, a place where his children could grow old and wise.
That is the future that we fight for. The times are changing, Absail. There have been many who have held the names that we have before us. Some of them have lived rather mundane lives. This time will not be that. This time will be something different. Our people will be broken or they will be made here and now. based off the decisions that we make and the decisions of those around us. So when I ask you, where does Ausschlam lie in this grand scheme of things, in this war? That is because I do not wish to find him an enemy.
You will find no enemy in Auschwitz, regardless of your stance. You will find no ire. You will find the reasonable and uncontradictory approach of a diplomat and a warlord, yes. But no contradiction to your path. They have always been loyal. In service. They seem almost a bit taken aback, but then settle themselves.
We shall see. Things change.
That they
People
do.
change. The pacts and the alliances and the bonds that were made lifetimes ago, those we relied upon, when things come to a head. That is what I wonder. And that is what I will endeavor to find out with the man when he arrives.
A nod. You will find them. They shake their head then. I will let them make their own introductions and cast their own stone with you. My loyalty to them has been superseded by my loyalty to you. The necessity of my bond to the Prince of Blossoms ended at the coming of their last naming. Now I am free to pursue more readily the bond which has drawn me ever near for a long time, but one I was not permitted to pursue.
No, your bond to Ausschlam has been superseded by my own. It has not been severed and has not disappeared. You still spend time with the person. You know them. You will help bridge the empty space, the long years of not knowing one another between me and him.
I will needs to work past the inevitable and irrational predispositions which the Zorha places upon me. But you are right. This is something which I will do.
And I want you to know, even though our days together have been short, I think we have a bright future ahead of us.
A nod. The brightest. After all, we're going to go gallivanting around in the countryside. I am sure that you will detest me at points. A grin. I am not an easy teacher. You will maybe perhaps be wishing the Majut return from the river, enforce his own will over you once again by the time I am through.
Sounds like a challenge to me, one I accept.
Very well. You come then to the walls of the great city, passing down and through the main gate on the east side. You pass by tired guards. The change of the watch has not yet come for them. and they sit there eagerly awaiting the time in which they can go and find some bare and short-lived sleep. Eyes peer up, your own, drawn by the impulse of the Zorha to the tower. There, a deep feeling, dread, regret, curiosity, desire, melancholy, all mixed.
Looking at the tower takes on a new meaning. After tonight.
A nod. That tower. It once drove us apart.
Hopefully it will not do so again.
Time reverses. The wounds close.
I trust you. Infinitely.
A nod.
I have no worries about you.
What do you
Let us keep it that
worry
way.
of?
What do I worry of?
Yes.
Everything we've spoken about tonight.
Nothing beyond. There is much
There are
concern
others.
held there, of course.
Actions can be taken confidently so that we may have a better future, but nonetheless, the outcomes of those actions and the very future that we have ahead of us ourselves, that is uncertain. You don't know what it holds.
A nod.
That very uncertainty, that unknown. I think every man fears that to some extent. Some are able to work through it more than others.
I would say that it is a wise man's fear.
I think my brother does not do enough fearing of the future. I think he does too much aggrandizing of it, trying to see where his grand image will be painted, not realizing the steps taken to reach that place.
We
I
need
hope it is just a symptom of this dark place, and that leaving here clears his mind. I think it will.
we need to redirect him then. As we have since the beginning of his life. It will take time, but his path will be steadied.
That it will. I have hopes.
In truth, he needs to be wed. His spirit was tamed. When at last he was wed. Before. But the bride has not reclaimed her name. That option is not apparent to us, but perhaps it would soothe the impulses of the Zorha. They whisper the word now within the city, speaking it so quietly as to be a mutter.
Yes. Or perhaps we find him another wife, for the time being. Who's to say he can't have multiple? I did.
3. You had 3.
Yes. And in my visions, I see 3.
Nod. I see.
future will come to pass again. If we make it. That is the most important part, if we make it.
Yes. They look back up to the tower. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what the world would be like without that in it? How much more pleasant. How much more filled with light.
Perhaps.
But
I think
it's
that's an
true.
impossibility.
And to be honest, Halim, even in that darkness, there is its own special kind of light. These people do not pray to it merely out of fear. It is their protector, their defender.
I'll turn to Abseil, smiling. I know. I have seen its light. I have seen its splendor. I have seen its grace. I have stood beneath it when it has deigned to reveal such things.
Perhaps once it was always like that, and it merely slumbers now. Imagine if it was to awake. What would the
Wonder
Durnt
what that would
be
look like.
if they lived within that light, but not within the shadow? How would it change them? How would it mold them? How would their path have been different? Who can say? Does it even truly
Say.
matter?
No.
A nod.
I think our future lies far beyond these walls. We'll leave the dirt in the dust soon enough. Hopefully to be forgotten.
Yes. I have no doubt of that.
We came to these shores and we conquered them looking for a home.
The home is always behind us.
Not so sure about that.
I feel as though our shame drove us from that place we loved. That it was shame, grief, that we needed to grieve. Now we have grieved long enough.
I do think the destination we can both agree upon, but I do not think going back to it is a possibility. We will have to go forward. We will have to forge a new future, a new way. We cannot go back as warriors. We cannot go back as the people we once were. We're changed. We're different now.
A nod. I think I might understand a part, if not a whole.
Musings for another day.
Dude. Elaine, when was the last time you bathed?
With the training and such, it's been counterproductive. That's over now, at least.
A nod. We will find time and space to do so. Preferably before tomorrow's event. Have you plotted out a timeline for us?
Yes.
Good.
We will be attending a meeting in the morning. That is the last one my father requires of me before we leave.
Good.
And then in the afternoon, we will have everybody gathered who is going to be coming on this expedition with us. We'll begin planning. We'll spend the afternoon doing that. The evening, well, we can leave that up to ourselves. Perhaps a good time to bathe.
Perhaps. You come then to the side, to one of the small side entrances into the keep. You've maneuvered your way around to the east side so you may enter closer to the wing in which Rohaja's stable lies. You head up and through a decrepit old archway, guarded by a few tired Vroshi guardsmen who lift the portcullis for you, allowing you to enter into the old courtyard itself. Once the portcullis is lowered and you've passed through several more stone archways leading into the abandoned courtyard, you find yourself again under the light of the moon, staring past into the dead tree. Namsel dismounts, tired and a bit disjointed. They step down, and catching their weight, they stumble and then stand straight. Rohaj snorts, and against the reins moves towards the stable at a bit more of a trot, not having to be guided towards the scent of food.
I'll hop down off of him and lead him the rest of the way into his stable.
You hop down,
Make sure he's fed.
help guide him into the stable. Absail joins. You fill back up the feed of which he is provided, and then you, Absail, take the time to pat him down to relieve the ache of his muscles. This being done with straw. In the meantime, the world is silent. Moments of contemplation quietly passing by. When you look to Rohaj, the Zorha does not stir. Or perhaps it is that it is so aligned with you when it comes to the ponderings and to the impulses that you feel nothing outside of what you would already have felt. So close is that bond. Time goes by. You finish your duty in taking care of your steed. Amsel steps out of the stable and under the moonlight.
I'll step out with them.
He stretches and turns to look at you. Bed, I think.
Yes.
The stitches can wait for the morning.
I'll turn looking to the decrepit tree in the old garden. I always wondered what this place might have looked like in its prime, when it was actually well taken care of and not a mess.
When you dwelt here, or before.
I'll shrug. Whenever the tree was tall and healthy and the bushes were well trimmed and the flowers not dead.
Long time ago, then.
Back when the stone walls did not have cracks in them, with ivy and vines growing their way about.
But
Back
not.
then.
I wonder how the palaces of the Koshani look. The halls that dwelt beside the river.
It's likely something we'll never know. Even if we go home, we'll be met with naught but ruins. We'll have to rebuild them in our image. Make them what we want them to be.
I have heard many of those structures still stand. Though those words came from the pilgrims that had returned. I once spoke with the boatsman. Ijal, he is called. The one who ferries those chosen to become Mashak. He told me He called Ferrum a desolate paradise, but he never would explain what he meant by that. Just smile in a sad sort of way.
Hopefully, we'll be able to find out what that means for ourselves
A nod.
when we see it someday.
Hopefully, the reclamation of our homeland will not require us to uproot any Tavrish colonies. I do not favor the idea of a war with the Idavar.
No. We could well even return home as their governor.
Do you think, perhaps,
Set those prison colonies in line, make something useful of them, other than just a place to be exiled.
do you
The
believe that...
people to the south,
Good.
those disparate tribes that were once similar to us, the blood of Leut, it could well still run in their veins.
The ones
They
who
could well be
stayed.
reintegrated into our people.
Do you think the Jalisate might approve such an action? Do you feel as though that is what Halaskir is aiming for? To impress the
Perhaps.
Jalisate, to then ask a favor? It seems too loose of a strategy.
No. I think his mind might lie elsewhere, but it is still a possible path for the future.
One to consider.
Yes.
The Idavar, the Jalisate, are diplomats. I hear that the youngest, Galleon, was able to forge alliances even with our people. And you can know how stubborn we are in our ways and our traditions.
Yes. And if he wishes to keep those alliances aligned with his interests, well, a favor for a favor might be in order.
A nod. An interesting path to
Though,
take.
I believe in aligning ourselves with the Idavar. We may well just find ourselves on the front lines of another war, far in the future, one that lies in the west.
The
The more and more I
grimace
talk to Kotzi, the more and more I feel a dread in that direction.
in the west. There are exiles who headed that direction when we left. East, west, north, south. The Koshani spread. Perhaps we could find brothers and sisters in those lands.
Perhaps.
Another thought. All
There will
thoughts.
maybe threats to us in that direction too. Those who possess our powers or powers far greater than we could ever imagine that would rival us.
They walk over towards the tree, looking down at its roots. There is no greater power, they say, lifting a hand to touch it, a black shimmer running across their palm. Gently, the bark of the tree brightens, life bristling up it slowly to its branches as a few leaves sprout at the tips, though no more. They turn back to look at you.
How can we be so sure? That's all I'm saying.
Is there any greater power than that which changes and alters the very fabric, that reaches into the soul and finds its shape, that can mold that shape to its will? I can see the soul of the tree. I can make it what I desire. It abides and it obeys.
are others, though,
A nod.
among the Idavar to the west, in the lands that Katsi comes from. He was among them until his crippling and possess power to rival that which we hold.
A nod. Perhaps I do not fear them because I do not know them. Perhaps I am sure because I know this, and I know myself. Perhaps there is wisdom in what you say.
I do not fear them, but I do fear the uncertainty that they bring for our people, that
A
there are
nod.
those that can rival us, that we are not.
Well, then we shall make a bastion which is impenetrable to them. We shall secure a place for our people, so dauntless and indomitable as to thwart even the greatest of armies. Something that cannot be touched, something that cannot be altered, just for us. Or perhaps that is simply wishful thinking, and no such thing exists. No such permanence.
Even if it doesn't exist, or even if we can endeavor to bring it about, that will take many long hours, many great victories to be won, many triumphs to come. And when we do bring it about, as you say, such things are never permanent. I do not think such a thing could last forever. But even if we could just make a place like that, for but a moment, all our effort, it will be worth it in the end. That much I believe.
Abseil nods, staring up at the tree. They let their hand go from it then, even for a moment. They mimic. The branches of the tree fall, the leaves withering, the trunk cracking, the life that had rushed into it now gone.
A shame. Come, let us retire.
A
I said,
nod.
beginning to walk into the castle.
They move with you, beside you, through that keep. And a silence falls there. Silence of quiet contemplation. And that will be all for now.